All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of our video series with our unboxing videos. We've changed our format. So originally we used to do an unboxing and a figure preview. We're still going to do the figure preview. Don't worry about that. But we're adding a Mach sealed. So what we're going to do is we've kind of lined up multiple packs. And we're going to take those packs and build seal teams out of them as we would. And that kind of explains the decision making behind why we're adding certain figures to the team and different changes we might be able to make. In addition to which, if you check the description, we're going to leave the layout of each of the packs down there for you so that you get a good look and can mix and match the packs as best you could and come up with your own ideas for sealed. And at the same time, you guys can give us your suggestions in the comments below on what you would build with the team. So without further ado, let's get started with our Mach sealed team building process. So first 2 packs that we're going to work with, the nice and easy mode with Thor, right? So we actually have the common Iron Man, this is one of the shifting focus ones. The uncommon Iron Man, also in the same pack, along with the Thor, Nuke, Clone, and Steve Rogers. As well, we have the Wasp, Sharon Carter, the Shield Agent, the Captain, and Moonstone working for us. So ideally, of course, with a little bit of the knowledge that we have beforehand, we're probably looking at Thor as a character, because if you look at this dial, playable 125, 75, or 50, all of these dials are really good. In addition to all of the really cool powers that he's bringing, I feel like as a starting point, Thor is a good way to go. Just because everything he does is awesome, and everything he defends, he's really strong against. So, for 125 points, you get some really good value that has some intermittent prob to go with the entire thing, plus a stop click at the end. Who knows where that could go? So I'm going to start with Thor as one of the figures on our team. It's going to be a highlight of the team. Now, a few of these figures will be considered towards the end. I got the Shield Agent and Sharon Carter mixed up here. Sharon Carter, the Shield Agent, and the Nuke Clone all fall into that support category, where they generally help out the team without necessarily donating a ton. But I don't want to say they're bad. They're just going to be the last considerations for the team. That said, going into the secondary role, we kind of look at Steve Rogers and the 2 Iron Men. Now, I'm actually looking at the 2 Iron Men as one figure. Because of the shifting focus, we have this more ranged focus Iron Man who's capable of swapping to the other one, along with the variable weapon system, which lets him use the choose a standard attack power printed on the card of a shifting focus Iron Man. And work off of that. So with that, you could be using the running shot with even his own standard attack power on the card of a character with the on your sideline. So if you happen to need steel energy in the moment or super strength with this one or quake, it could come in handy. Long story short, because this is more range focused, this is probably where we'll start with the figure, while swapping to the more close combat focused common one. So I think this will make up the next 75 points of our team. We're already at 200 points with a sideline Iron Man to work with. Now, we still have 100 points, and that, if you look at what we have here, we can go a distance with that. Now, as well, one of the things I want to point out is we're sticking with an Avengers theme team. So Thor has the Avengers keyword, Iron Man has the Avengers keyword, and as a result, we kind of increase our odds of winning map roll, as well as adding some theme team probability controls to our already existing prob on Thor, increasing our likelihood of hitting ultimately. So there's a couple other directions we can go if we just look at the Avengers right now. We have the Captain, who's got his traded ability to come back to life, as well as his beginning of the game, choose one to last this game. Captain loses his soldier keyword and gains the Marvel team ability of your choice that isn't uncopyable. Or the Captain can't have his combat values modified by other characters and can't have his attack rolls re-rolled. You could go either way on that, but I think you would probably lean towards a team ability. And there's not much that synergizes on the team necessarily, so you're probably looking at something that you can capitalize on him with him alone. Possibly giving him Colossal Stamina from the Masters of Evil as an option. There's a lot of options there. So ultimately, if we're sticking to our Avengers, we have 3 options. We have Steve Rogers, the Captain, and Wasp. Now, we're going into a sealed environment, which means we have certain powers that we're limited on. One of those powers is Perplex. So I believe both the Wasp and Steve Rogers have it, but the Wasp has it on her later dial, but she does start with leadership. The 50-point Steve Rogers does start with Perplex, but he also has leadership as part of a trait, and you can turn around and make another character Avengers. So by adding Steve Rogers, we go up to 250 points, but with our last 50 points, our options then reopen up. Specifically, we can maintain our Avengers theme team, and even go as far as a +5 if we want to go ahead and add Sharon Carter, who's already an Avenger, and the Shield agent as well. Give him the Avengers team ability from Steve Rogers, and then we have a 5-person theme team, thus maximizing our theme probs. And generally, this is almost on a level of a constructed team. Or we could end up the team with Moonstone, and 45 points for reasonable stats, with a special movement power that gives her phasing, and then free roll a d6. And she can't carry characters. She can phasing teleport at no cost, but only move up to half the result. So you can move like 0 to 3 or 1 to 3 with Moonstone, with phasing, and possibly get into a position to shoot with her 6 range and Psychic Blast. Personally, if it was me, I'm probably going to lean more towards making it Sharon Carter and the Shield Agent. The Shield Agent is... there's multiple lines you can go with, but he adds a shield team ability, which means we got our range upped on Thor. And as well, we have a little guy to just throw our theme probs into. And Sharon Carter here has espionage, so we can get around any of those pesky stealth characters, which also happen to have espionage in most cases in the set. Adds another leadership to the team. And she's also got extra bonuses to rolling leadership near Steve Rogers. And she has Perplex as well. And when she uses the target friendly character's shield keyword, that character can use Outwit until your next turn. Now that means that either our shield, not our shield agent, Steve Rogers can all of a sudden start outwitting in addition to the perplexing and in addition to the leadership. So kind of maximizing the motion we can get. So I think personally this would be one of the strongest teams we could possibly make. Though we could look at Wasp as another flex option. She is good solid leadership. She also has the espionage trait, so she'll be able to see through lines of draw her lines of fire through hindering. In addition to which, she has the Avengers Assembled trait. So long and short of it, you go with the direction you would go. This is the direction I would personally go. But that's not to say these other 4 characters don't have a place on another possible team. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments on that one. All right, so packs. The next 2 packs we have here are going to include our pack set. Pack 1 has the Rare Baron Zemo, Roz Solomon, Skin, Happy Hogan, and Peggy Carter, along with Pack 2, which has Citizen V, Jolt, the Shield Agent, Quake, and Power Man. So those of you not familiar, Power Man, he's one of the Masters of Evil. He's got the Assembled Bolts and Masters trait, Emissaries of Evil, Lethal Legion, and Masters of Evil keywords. And then he's got a trait, Power Man takes a maximum of 1 damage from the first attack that hits him each turn. He comes with that with 2 clicks of Impervious, 3 clicks of Toughness, 4 damage on his first click with Charge and Super Strength, and he's got the Masters of Evil team ability with at 65 points. So it's kind of one of the newer ones that a lot of players may not have seen, so I just wanted to draw attention to that. For some of those who may not have been initiated yet. Okay, so long and short of it, this is a little bit more complex than the previous pack that we had to work with. A couple things of note: our higher rarities, Citizen V and Baron Zemo, they're each at 60 points. They're both relatively decent characters. There's nothing wrong with them per se. They're just not your beat stick kind of characters. We also have the Uncommon Prime there, Assemble Bolts and Masters trait, and then she's hypersonic with Precision Strike and the ability to move around and get some extras out of her kinetic tokens if she moves and hits a character with her hypersonic. So ultimately, I think this is going to be one of those ones where a lot of our high rarities will find their way onto the table. I mean, actually, to be honest, this is a lot of lower point characters. Even Roz Solomon here, 65 points herself with the shield team ability and her espionage and vibranium traits. When Roz Solomon makes a range attack, her target's defenses can't be positively modified, which means she gets around annoying things like energy shield. Also comes with that wit, which helps her also get around that. And then she's got some late dial phasing, and she can use it to carry an opposing character. So really kind of mess with people's formations, and she can shoot out of base. I think these are the 4 characters we kind of need to focus on. I like Power Man. He's pretty tough, especially when he's only taking a maximum of 1 damage from the first attack. It's a matter of getting him there, and I think the other characters lend themselves more to that. So it's kind of a hit and miss sort of situation. This is a tough set of packs to build off of. If this was the packs I was dealing with, I would definitely start with Baron Zemo and Citizen V. The leadership from Baron Zemo, 5 range, Psychic Blast, and then the ability to get around or to make characters with leadership or combat reflexes have a bit of a harder time with them can definitely go a long way. And then, even if he gets off that first click, he's got Outwit, and he can keep pushing with that Massive Evil Team ability. Towards the end, it gets a little bit dicey, but not a big deal. So just a solid 60-point character. And then we have Citizen V, who's a little bit more close focused, but she's got charge and sidestep. The Assembled Bolts and Masters. I think the other one also had the Assembled Bolts and Masters. So we kind of get in that direction of the Assembled Bolts and Masters trait. We're not going to be seeing a theme team, I don't think, out of this one. There's a lot of cool stuff, but I feel like we're kind of have to commit to these first 2 if it was me. And that puts us at 120. I think Roz Solomon is a solid range attacker that can go some distance. So from 120, we go to 185, and then we'll add another 60 with Jolt, just because I think Jolt is probably one of the most effective attacking characters that we have. And so we'll say that's 180 plus 65 is 245. So we actually have 55 points to work with, and that's actually quite a bit. Now, inside of that, we don't have Quake to work with. And we won't have Power Man to work with if this is the base we're going. But don't forget that Power Man or Quake, on your own preference, could probably easily replace Roz Solomon. Or you could try to go in that shield direction, though I don't think shield is really the keyword you could build a team around in this pool. So if we're going to go in the direction that I was going, we have the options we have to roll this out or end this up. One more time, I'm going to double check. That's 245. So we have 55 points. We could go skin and get a decent incapacitator. This is kind of a slowdown piece, to say the least. But it also has shape change and gives shape change to our team, which our team's going to need whatever it can get. Let's be brutally honest at this point. So skin is one of those options. The shield agent can really help some of those ranges. Happy Hogan, not as much of a great option, but he does have the ability to carry if you feel you need to go that direction. But we do have 2 flyers already on the team in Roz Solomon and Jolt. Peggy Carter is a solo option. She's 40 points. She's 40 points. So we're at 245. You could include her with the shield agent. Get 2 shield characters, Peggy Carter's Outwit, along with her sidestepping. Characters can't draw a line of fighter Peggy unless she's adjacent to another character. At the beginning of your turn, you may deal Peggy Carter 1 unavoidable damage, and that will get her to a more running shot, shooty, attacky kind of thing. So those are kind of the directions you would go. I don't think Happy Hogan fits to the team, but I think Skin, adding an extra flyer and giving friendly characters adjacent to her shape change goes a long way. I think Peggy Carter and Shield Agent is the other direction you could possibly go. I leave that kind of in your hands. Let us know in the comments what you think on that one. So ultimately, I would personally probably lean in the direction of Skin. Just because we have Citizen V who already has shape change, but with a formation, we're just going to use the map for general use. Skin, in this particular situation, all 4 of these characters have shape change. All of these characters have shape change. possibly not forcing you to take very many attacks. So I'll leave that in your hands, and we move on to the next packs. All right, so we have, in this set of packs, Sharon Carter, the Falcon Captain America, Zeke Stane, Maria Hill, the Uncommon Iron Man, and in the second pack, we've got Trick Shot, Mach 10, the Common Iron Man, Happy Hogan, and the Industrial Spy. So one of the things that happened, once again, is we got both Shifting Focus Iron Mans. Can't argue with that. I think it's almost a must include. I'm going to put them right next to the other must include, and that's going to be Mach 10. I think Mach 10 really stands out as a strong range combat focused character. Also because of his second trait, upgrading the Mach lineup. Free, choose a standard attack power printed on this card. Mach 10 can use the chosen power this turn. And of course, that includes just about every cool range attack and a few close attacks that he can make effective use of. Honestly, the idea of running shot Psychic Blast with 11 attack on the first click goes a long way. Plus, he ignores hindering for a line of fire. So I think Iron Man and Mach 10 becomes our starting point. I like Zeke Stane for what he is. The unfortunate fact is he's got a power that relies on having 2 action tokens, but he takes damage for that. So I'm less comfortable with him in that case. But he does have a special defense power that gives him energy, shield, toughness, and willpower towards the last half of the dial. He's got that special damage power, gives him perplex and the ability to remove action tokens from himself. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with Zeke Stane. I think 100 points is a little much to spend on a character that lacks willpower in sealed right now. And especially when I can spend 75 each on 2 different characters with some form of willpower and Indomitable. This Captain America's got the Living Legend trait, so if you kill him, he comes back to life. He's got special defense power and everything but his first click that gives him super senses and toughness, along with +2 defense if he's moved during your last turn. So I think Captain America, Iron Man, and Mach X is where we start. So we can go 2 directions with this. You can also go with a 50-point version of Mach X and work from there. I believe Trick Shot's going to be a must include, just because, for the sole fact that Trick Shot's capable of a lot on his own with running shot, 12 attack, 8 range, willpower, and a special damage power, which gives him the ability, once per turn, when a friendly character within 4 squares in line of fire would be hit by a range attack, you may roll 2d6 and add Trick Shot's attack value. If your result is higher than your opponent's attack total, the attack is evaded. There's almost no cost to that, except you can only do it once per turn. For a 50-point character, that can possibly protect even something as squishy as Mach X, because Mach X, though he's pretty tough in having impervious or invulnerable, he doesn't have a lot of clicks. So the more of those we can protect, the better. I think Trick Shot can really defend him, especially if we go with one of the alternatives. So right here, this is 275 points. We have 25 to work with, and we would be including Happy Hogan. Not a great include for this particular kind of field. But if we drop Mach 10 to 50 points, that actually opens up another 25, so we actually have 50 points with which to work in some support. The Industrial Spy fits in there along with Happy Hogan. Maria Hill fits in there. Sharon Carter fits in there. I go with your comfort level. Personally, I'd probably go with the 75-point Mach 10 just for the 2 extra clicks. And the higher attack on the start, along with just the 20 points for Happy Hogan, just, to carry Iron Man early and not take an action token and just get some board positioning advantages out of Iron Man. That's the direction I would go. You tell me in the comments what you think. So in this one, in this group, we have for ourselves Dario Agger, Spider-Man, Industrial, and this is the super rare Spider-Man, the Stealth Spider-Man, Industrial Spy, Iron Man, and Sidewinder. We also have Melter, Dr. Faustus, Alexander Lukin, Isaiah Bradley, and Nick Fury. So this pool is what we like to call the tricky pool, because Spider-Man is your very obviously offensive character in this group. He's got the ability to either be a close combat focused dude or a stealthy incapacitator with shape change. It's hard to get your hands on. He constantly traded with the super senses. He's definitely our starting point. So 85 points spent. But then here's where things get a little wacky. We have 2 options in our range combat backup with Iron Man and Nick Fury. Though Iron Man, this one's got charge, isn't really going to be super able or capable, much like the ones where we had the shifting focus counterparts. That said, Nick Fury's got the range combat focus with the espionage trait, as well as 2 targets and running shot with 6 range. Shield team ability go with it, and a stop click towards the end for a 75-point dial. I'm not going to complain about Nick Fury. I think that's the direction I want to go. The rest of it is where things get wacky. We can add Isaiah Bradley, who's going to be a super awesome close combat focused fella, which if we interchange Nick Fury with Iron Man, here's where we get complicated, okay? So we have Spider-Man as our starting focus, and I'm going to be all over the place here, so sorry if I'm going to be moving things all over the place. If we're going with Spider-Man, and our secondary choice is Iron Man, you go with Isaiah Bradley because he's got Empower, and you're probably going to be using more of the charge line on Spider-Man, backed up with Iron Man to just maximize your damage from there. Subsequently, if you go with the Nick Fury route, you kind of try to make your range be the purpose and have Spider-Man kind of back things up. I'm kind of leaning on the range myself, because we also have Melter, who would be our replacement for Isaiah Bradley in this case, because he has the enhancement to make all of our characters' range attacks a little better. Ultimately, I don't think we're getting a theme team out of our pool here. So without focusing on that, we then move to our support. Alexander Lukin, who is a Perplexer for 40 points. The Industrial Spy, who's an Outwitter for 30. Who can also get use of certain powers depending on who he's targeting. Or there's Dario Adger, who's got Outwit and Probability Control to go as well. He's 50 points on his own. He does have Mastermind and Telekinesis as well. So honestly, the starting point is where you get everywhere else, and then it comes down to making your support package with that. So if we go with the Melter, Nick Fury, Spider-Man route, we've got 125 in Melter and Nick Fury, another 85 in Spider-Man. Spider-Man's points are weird and not on the 25-point circuit, so give me a second to do some math here. So we're at 210 points with this setup, and we have 90 with which to work with. Dario Adger and Alexander Lukin could probably be your best focuses. You get a little bit of Perplex, you get a little bit of leadership. Not that you're going to get much out of leadership on Lukin per se, though he does have Politician, which means he can remove tokens from Nick Fury. Or Dario Adger for that matter. There's a lot of different directions you can go with this pool. You could also go with the Industrial Spy, while including Dr. Faustus in one option, because he does have the mind control, and if you really effectively use your opponent's characters, you get a lot of bump out of this. Unfortunately, Sidewinder is cool, but he's a figure made for a set that doesn't exist right now. So, shame on that one. If it was me, personally, I'm the more I've talked about it, the more I've pushed myself in a direction of Isaiah Bradley, Spider-Man, Iron Man. But that's actually 10 points more, so that's 225 if I have my math correct here. 75 plus 85 plus 60, 220. So we actually have 80 points to work with from here. You can go with the Industrial Spy and Dario Adger to really maximize your outwit, or you could go with Melter to add to the small amount of range that you get, and include him with Alexander Lukin as you you do with the Industrial Spy. I leave that the decision on this one is a little harder. You go with how you would direct yourself. I'm probably leaning more towards Dario Adger as for sure a support character. I'm flip-flopping between Isaiah Bradley or Melter with the inclusion of Iron Man versus Nick Fury. It's a really hard one, and I would probably go to time on my decision-making on this one. So I leave that one up to you. Those are the options. This is probably, if you were to ask me, the more effective one, because you start at a distance in the game of Heroclix, and I think that's where you can get the most effectiveness out of your team. Comments below if you hate my idea altogether. So Nick Fury, Spider-Man, Melter, Dario Adger, Alexander Lukin is probably the direction I would take the team myself. All right. Last pool. Here we go. So we have Fixer, Jolt, Singularity, Shield Officer, Citizen V, Happy Hogan, Nuke, Industrial Spy, Ironheart, Winter Soldier. All right, so there's a lot of directions we can go with this. Ironheart is a very obvious one. Her trait, the mode shift Natalie, Ironheart may use her displayed damage power twice per turn. That starts with probability control, gets outwit, and then perplex later on. It's a pretty solid attacking dial, honestly. And she can use barrier after attacks, but has to generate them against a hit character. Ultimately, I think Ironheart is a good starting point for this team. It's kind of, and it's always hard to have to tell you, hey man, you got a super rare. Guess what? Start with a super rare. But that's kind of the case that we're getting here. So Ironheart will be our starting point. Now, this is where things gets a little crazy. We have the Winter Soldier at 90 points, who is a pretty decent dial with a wild card, but the unfortunate part is that his coolest part is his special damage power, which gives him close combat expert and range combat expert, but he doesn't get it until the second and third click, which tend to get blown past even with his invulnerability there. But he does have the espionage trait. He does have 6 range. He does have running shot. He can shoot out of base. So the more and more I look at it, the more and more I like it. But then we also have singularity here. 100 points gets you a Battle World Other Cosmic Avenger with the Avengers assembled and just a really good power cosmic dial. The unfortunate fact is that it lacks some move and attack, but we have probability control again. So if you include this with Ironheart, you have about 3 probability controls your opponent has to get through. And that's, I think, worth some looking into. So then we go into the next stage of things and how they work. You could go with Jolt. Jolt is has flurry, sidestep, 25 points. I mean, this is probably actually the last figure we're going to include on the team. Not for like, oh my gosh, it's bad, but it's not very many points. We do have Fixer, who is 50 points. Master of Evil character, but he does have Perplex, and he can choose a single value on other than damage on all friendly characters within 4 in line of fire, and he can increase that, and that also comes with TK. On a flying character, again, a super support dude to go with our 185 points that we have there. We could also go with Nuke, who's got the ability to free, choose an adjacent friendly character, choose Nuke or an adjacent friendly character. Modify the chosen character's attack and damage +1. This turn, at the end of your turn, deal the chosen character 1 unavoidable damage, which could be useful in getting singularity into those running shot clicks with Pulse Wave in the middle. Up to you on that one. It's a little risky because she does open herself up to getting shot for a lot of damage in that case. But he's also got Charge Flurry Plasticity on the later parts of his dial. When Nuke or an adjacent friendly character KOs an opposing character after resolutions, he'll nick 1 click, and he's got the assembled bolts and masters. He's a solid brick dude. Could possibly round up your team if you're looking for a little bit more offense. Of course, we have the Industrial Spy, which we talked about earlier. Outwit and take your power. And then there's the Shield Officer for late. Include Citizen V once again. Close combat focus with that sidestep toughness considerations. So with 185 points, and I moved way away from the microphone on that one, so my apologies. So if we go with the 185 points, if we add Nuke, we have 30 points to work with. So here's one option is to take Nuke and include the Industrial Spy, if you ask me, and then you have Ironheart, Singularity, Nuke, and the Industrial Spy for basically outwit, lots of prob, and tons of damage coming out of this possible build. You could swap out Singularity for Winter Soldier if you so desire. You could swap out the Industrial Spy for the Shield Officer, though I think you get more out of the Industrial Spy. Hopefully I didn't shove the camera off too much on that one. And the Shield Officer is a little bit more focused on close combat improvements. Or you could go in the direction of dropping Nuke, going with Fixer, and including the Jolt as another option, or the Shield Officer as an option, leaving yourself like 5 points low. Honestly, if it was me, I'd probably go with the more offensive route, just because I think Ironheart and Singularity's sources of prob can get around any sort of missing you may do with your characters. And I think this is probably the best option with this particular pool of characters. Let me know in the comments if you would go in a different direction. All right, let's wrap this up. All right, so that's a quick run through of some of the sealed options you have with 5 possible sealed pack options that we put together with our brick that we got from the wonderful folks over at WizKids Games. Now, if you look below, we're going to put a Google Doc out there that shows all the figures and the packs they were in. If you want to mix and match some of those and see how you would build, try to randomize them in some way. Possibly grab one 6-sided die, put 5 of them in one set and 5 of them in another set, roll die, and figure out which packs you end up getting. Or, excuse me, tell me what you would do if you had the packs that I was given and work from there. So this is a cool exercise to give you a little bit of a look into the set itself. Overall, for sealed, it looks like this kind of harkens back to the Avengers Defenders War, where you're going to have a lot of teams that actually have a lot of figures, and you have to work through the best strategies with them. I think on average, the most I was getting, the most I had left over was 5 figures. So I had about 1 pack's worth of figures on the board. In other cases, we only had 3 or 4 left. So keep your eyes on what you're building. Keep an eye on what you're thinking about using. And just pay attention to all the options that you have. You may play differently than I will in a sealed event, and I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. So you guys check out the Google Docs, see what you would do with different sets of packs, different packs themselves, different pack setups, or with my pack setups as well. I want to hear your input on this one, because this is a little bit more interactive, as it were. In the meantime, thanks again to WizKids for providing us with the brick, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for our piece-by-piece figure review. Have a good one.